Здравствуйте, приятель, dear friends, дорогие друзья. Welcome to all of you to the fourth stop of Humanity's Team World Tour entitled Around the World in Oneness. I'm so happy, glad, just excited to see you all here. And so just some organizational moments. We will have Romanian translation through special equipment. You have it with you. And
questions in the right order. Where am I going? Who's going with me? If we turn the questions around, who's going with me? Now where am I going? We wind up picking someone as a life companion, as a life partner, who's not going where we wanted to go, often. And then we wind up spending the next 15 years trying to figure out how to get our divergent paths to look like they're going in the same place. And that can lead to lots of disharmony and lots of anger and lots of resentment. So it's very, very important when you start to feel that you're getting serious about someone, say, well, wait a minute, just a minute, let me lay something out here for you. This is where I'm going in my life. This is what I'm going to be doing. This is how it looks to me. This is how it is. Now, you want to go along on that journey with me? And by the way, while we're talking about it, where are you going?
It's very fulfilling and very satisfying for me to be here today. It isn't often that I have the opportunity to speak to people such as you. People who understand deeply the most important traditions and wisdoms of life. I'm delighted to be in your wonderful country. And I thank you for inviting me here. Today we're going to have a long conversation about God. As you know, I had a conversation with God. And that conversation with God told me much about life and how it really is and what's most important and who we are and what we're doing here on the earth. What it told me, most importantly, is that the largest number of people do not know who they are, why they are here. Most people do not understand the purpose of life, the true purpose of life, which has nothing to do with material things, which really, in a sense, has nothing to do with our body. And has everything to do with our soul. I'd like to talk about that today. And as Stephen mentioned, I hope that throughout the day, should you have any question or any comment, you will please just raise your hand and make your contribution. Ask your question. We won't be together like this probably for some time again. So today is a very special opportunity. So please don't leave here with any questions on your mind. Questions about God or about life. I have a little allergy to dust. So I'll probably have to use these tissues during the day. And I'm going to ask you to forgive me. Yes. Oh, perfect. She said she has an anti-allergy medication, if I can take it. You see, even before you ask, God will have answered. That's how life works. She probably wondered why she brought that with her today. Now she knows. Now she knows. Years ago or so, nothing was working in my life. I had no money, no work. I was in an automobile accident in which I broke my neck. I was very lucky to escape alive. I was very lucky to escape without being permanently paralyzed. But I was in recovery, in therapy for 2 years. And during that time, I could do no work. And my government benefits ran out. And my family could not help me. They had troubles of their own. And so I was left to my own devices. I was on my own. And soon I found myself living on the street. I couldn't afford even a small apartment. It was all I could do to pay for food to eat during the day. Soon I could not even pay for food. I had no money at all. Zero money. I understand poverty. So I walked the streets begging people for money. Holding out my hand, asking people if they would simply give me a little bit so that I could stay alive. It robbed me of the last little bit of dignity I had. So I understand what it is to live with no dignity. I managed to survive. I lived in a small tent in a park. And sometimes I had to rob the trash, the garbage collection can to eat. I had to eat the leftover food that other people were throwing away, you know, behind the restaurants. This went on for 1 year. As you can imagine, it was the most difficult year of my life. And I thought that it would never end. I thought I would never get off the street again. Now, when this was happening, I was not a young man. It might have felt a little more hopeful if I had been a young man. I might have thought, well, I'll bounce back. I'll come back. I might have had hope if I was younger. Because a young man thinks he can do anything. But I was 50 years old. And no one wanted to hire a 50-year-old man who looked like a street bum and had a broken neck and was wearing a support collar just to keep my head up. So I thought, I'm going to die out here on the street. I know what it feels to be hopeless. It was then that I discovered God. I mean, the real God. Not the God I was taught about when I was a child. Not the God they speak of in the churches. Not the God that I read about in the Bible. But the real God. Not a God that I felt I had to be afraid of. Not a God who would punish me for everything I did wrong. The God who would only do one thing. Love me. No matter how many mistakes I made. No matter how many times I broke life's rules. No matter how many times I hurt other people. Usually by mistake. Sometimes on purpose. This God didn't seem to care. This God didn't seem to mind. This God seemed to say, I understand. You're only human. It's okay. Just try to do a little better. Not because I need you to, but because it will serve you in your life. And I said to this God, what do you want from me? And God gave me a most surprising answer. She said, I asked God, what do you want from me? And she said, nothing. I want nothing from you. I need nothing from you. And I said, how can that be? Don't you want me to obey you? God said, no. And it's a good thing, because you don't obey me anyway. I said, don't you want me to love you? God said, no. I am love. And I do not need love from you. I am the source of all the love there is. And I said, well, don't you want me to come to you when I need help? And God said, you can do that if you want to. But you don't need to do that. I won't be offended if you don't do that. Because I have given you the strength and the wisdom to help yourself. In fact, everything you need in life, you can get from within yourself. Because I am within you. This was a very interesting kind of God that I was talking with. And I thought that I was hallucinating. I thought that I was having fantasies. Because this God was as nice as my grandmother. I think that gods should be at least as nice as our grandparents. You know how grandparents are. They forgive everything. They need nothing. And they just want to love you. So I found a God that I could fall in love with. And I said to this God, aren't you going to be keeping a list of all the things I'm doing wrong? And when I die, aren't you going to be sitting there on your throne, looking down at me, going, is that the best you could do? And aren't you going to look at the list of all of my offenses and pass judgment on me and say, go to hell? And God said, no. I couldn't send you to hell if I wanted to. And I said, why not? And God said, because there is no such place. And I said, you mean then that everyone gets into heaven? Even George Bush? Even Neale Donald Walsch? And God said, of course, there is no other place to go. And I said, wow, this is all upside down from the way I was taught as a child. Well, if you don't need us to love you, if you don't need us to obey you, if you don't even need us to ask for your help, and if you're not going to keep a list of our offenses, and if you're not going to pass judgment on us, then what in the hell are you doing? I mean, what is the point of you? Why have a God? And God said, I see that you don't even have a beginning understanding. So we'll start at the beginning. I am not here, said God, to regulate or monitor your life. I am here to experience myself. I exist to experience being me. I exist so that I can know what it is like to be God. And I said, how do you do that? And God said, by recreating myself anew in every moment. And I said, how do you do that? And God said, through you. I am, God said, who you are. I have made you in my image and likeness. I have given you life in the physical world. And I have given you the power that I am in you. I have placed my power in you, which is the power to create. I have given you the power to create. And the freedom to create what you wish to experience. No agenda, no requirements. I've given you free will. You may choose anything you wish. You may experience love or hatred, peace or anger, beauty or ugliness, health or disease. Indeed, you may choose life or death. And as you experience yourself, so I am. Indeed, I experience myself in all of life. In the flowers, in the wind, in the beauty that you see everywhere. There I am, expressing myself through life itself. But I have given you something that I have not given the wind or the flowers or the physical aspects of life. I've given you consciousness. I've given you self-awareness. The gift of a lifetime. The ability to know yourself as yourself. And the ability to create yourself in any form or manner that you choose. And I've given you life on the earth. And all that you need to experience any aspect of divinity that you wish to experience. And I've given you these magnificent physical homes that you call your bodies. And I've given you health and the ability to live in these bodies for a very, very long time. In fact, you can live in these physical bodies for as long as it takes for you to know who you really are. So take care of them. Keep them healthy. But you don't have to if you don't want to. You can destroy the health of your body. You can destroy the health of your mind. You can destroy the health of your soul. It's up to you. You can live your life as you choose. You can get out of life whatever you wish. And if you make some bad choices, that's okay. You can always come back in the next lifetime and do it again. And in the lifetime after that. And in the lifetime after that. Because not only have I given you this lifetime, I've given you an endless number of lifetimes. In fact, I have given you all of eternity. I've given you forever and ever to decide who you wish to be and how you wish to experience yourself. And I said, wow. How do you say wow in Romanian? Wow. How do you say wow in Russian? Wow. I said, wow. You mean it's as simple as that? I can do whatever I want? And you won't punish me? I can create whatever I want? And you won't stop me? I can be any way that I want to be? Can you help me, God, stop sneezing? God said, no. You put yourself there in that theater. That was your choice. Perfect example of how it works. Nobody forced me to come here. And nobody is forcing me to stay. And sneezing is part of my being here. See, I'm creating all of it. If I want to stop sneezing, I just have to leave the room. But if I left the room, then I would have to leave you. Choices, choices, always choices. Let's see, what do I want? Stop sneezing, leave you. Stop sneezing, leave you. Always we're faced with choices. Well, I can stop sneezing anytime, but I can't be with you anytime. So I choose you. But you see, I use a simple illustration to show you how this system works. Always we're making choices. Now the difference is, when I was a child, I was told that God punished us if we made the wrong choice. And what I learned as an adult is that there's no such thing as a wrong choice. There's only what serves you and what does not serve you. There's only what works for you and what does not work for you. And that all depends on what it is you're trying to do. Now, in order for me to know what works for me, I have to be very clear about what it is I'm trying to do. This is not unimportant. This is very important. And you know something? Most people have no idea what they're trying to do. They don't even have an idea what the purpose of life is. They think that life is just about getting through. You're born, you live, you die, you try to get through. They think that life is simply about survival. That's what they're trying to do. As Americans would say, hey, I'm just trying to survive here. Give me a break. But that's not what we were given life to do. Survival is guaranteed. Because you cannot die. And you will not die. Ever. You will live forever. It's just a matter of what body you're going to be living in at any given moment. But you will live through all eternity. So what would you do with life if you thought that survival was guaranteed? That's the key question. would you do with your life if you thought survival wasn't the issue? That's the question your soul asks. Your body would never ask such a question, because your body thinks that life is about survival. Because your body thinks that it is what you are. You understand? And your mind very often agrees. Your mind fools you into thinking that you are your body. And so you think that you have to make certain that your body survives. It's only after you die when you realize the truth. In the moment of your death, you realize that you're not dead. There's a part of you that looks down on your body. And it says, who the hell is that? How can that be over there when I'm over here looking at it? Then it asks an incredible question. Who am I? Who is the me that's looking at that body? And then you realize you're not your body, and you're not dead. Then you say to yourself, oh, now they tell me. I spent all that time worrying about the body. And it had nothing to do with the body. The body is not you. The body is yours. It is a magnificent tool. It is simply a device, like those musical instruments that those young men were playing a while ago. Just a device. A device, a tool, an instrument through which we can express the magnificence of who we are. And that's what those wonderful dancers, those folk dancers, were doing out here. They were using their bodies as beautiful instruments to demonstrate beauty itself. In a sense, that's the purpose of all of life. In a sense, life is nothing but a dance. That's why dancing is so beautiful to us. At a soul level, we understand what we're watching. When you watch a dance, you're watching life being beautiful. when you're watching each other, you're watching life being beautiful. Now, when you understand who you really are, that you're not your body, then you have to ask a larger question. Well, if I am not my body, and if I am simply using my body as an instrument, as a tool, what am I using it for? That is, what am I trying to create? What kind of beauty am I trying to create with my body? When you answer that question, your whole life changes. Then you understand what you're doing here. Then you understand that you came to the earth on a journey of the soul. Then you understand that the soul is up to something very big and very special. It is on an eternal journey through eternity itself. Not only demonstrating who you are, but growing in that, becoming more of that. Because the truest joy of God is becoming more of what God is. That's why God gives you lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. This process is called evolution. And so it turns out that we are involved in a process of evolution. Not just evolution of the species called humanity, but evolution of the soul. Evolution of the soul. That's why we're here. And most people don't know that. So today, since we do know that, we'll talk about how we can more profoundly engage the process of evolution of the soul. And I can guarantee you one thing. Along the way, we are going to make some mistakes. We're going to be less than who we are. Smaller than who we are. Along the way, we're going to show up as less than our grandest selves. But it's okay. Even as you forgive your children, so God forgives you. In fact, the truth is, God doesn't even have to forgive you. Because forgiveness is only required when somebody has done something wrong. And when you make a mistake, you haven't done anything wrong. You simply made a mistake. So there's no punishment. There's no hell. There's only life going on and on and on forevermore. Isn't it a joy? But it's not about what I thought it was about. Life is not about what I thought it was about. Before I found myself on the street, before I found myself living under the weather, before I found myself eating out of garbage cans, before I found myself with nothing, I thought that life was about gathering everything. It was about gathering enough stuff. And so I worked very hard. I wanted to have a nice life. I wanted to have a good job. Because a good job meant that I could afford a nice apartment and some nice clothes and enough to eat. It meant that I could take care of my body. But I spent so much time focusing on my body that I failed to even begin to take care of my soul. And so I wasn't doing what I came here to do. I was ignoring my true reason for being here on the earth. Most people do this. Most people ignore their true reason for being on the earth. And they spend their lives focusing on taking care of their body and the bodies of those they love. Now, it's okay to do that. It's very okay to take care of your body and the bodies of those you love. If you're doing that as a demonstration of love itself. But if you do it simply out of greed, simply out of a desire to have more and more and more, then you've lost track of who you really are. But it doesn't matter. When you die, you will remember. You'll go, oh, all that time I spent trying to gather all that stuff. And now, who the hell is that? And you discover, as they say, that you can't take it with you. Good, so now we understand what you're doing here. Are there any questions so far? By the way, I realize you all know all of this. I'm just reminding you. Yes, my dear.
Mie mi-a murit fata de 20 de ani. Nu înțeleg. Mi-a murit fata de 20 de ani. Înțeleg că asta a fost alegerea ei. Înțeleg că asta a fost alegerea ei. Mi-a murit fata de 20 de ani. Dar
I said, I will repeat the question very simply. I said we all choose everything. Her daughter died when she was 20. She says she understands that her daughter chose that freely. At some higher level, her daughter chose that. But she said she did not choose that. So how can it be true that we choose everything if she didn't choose that? Did I do a good job translating the question? Good. Good. You did choose it. You simply don't know that you did. Human beings create at 4 levels of creation. Follow this closely. God said to me in my conversations with God that human beings create at 4 levels of creation. Level number 1, the subconscious level. This is the part of our being which creates things that we are not consciously aware of. To use a simple example, you're not consciously aware of your hair growing. And some of you don't even have to worry about it. You're not consciously aware of your heart beating. I use a simple example. But you are creating all of that. It's going on. It's taking place. Because at the subconscious level, you are creating that. Level number 2, you are creating at the conscious level. This is the level at which you are totally aware of what is going on. For instance, you're sitting here right now. You came here out of a conscious choice. You're listening to me consciously. You're doing it on purpose. And so you're creating this entire event today. And in a sense, we are co-creating it together. So we're creating this moment together. Level 3. The superconscious. This is the level at which your soul creates. It is a high level of creation that puts into place in your life the perfect people, places, and situations It puts into place the people, places, and situations that you need to experience yourself in the next grandest version of who you are. I'll give you another example. Supposing you want to experience yourself as forgiving. Supposing being forgiving is part of who you are. And supposing that it's part of who you wish to be, you want to be that. Well, you will not be able to experience yourself being forgiving unless you have someone to forgive. So at the superconscious level of creation, you will create someone to forgive. That's why you put me here. Droning on like this for an hour and a half. So your superconscious has the responsibility of creating the perfect circumstances in your life to allow you to know yourself as something. To allow yourself to experience yourself in a certain way. But if you're not careful, you will forget that. Or if you don't completely understand, you will misinterpret the events of life around you. And you will think that something is happening to you instead of through you. And then you will say, I didn't want that. I didn't choose that. I didn't create that. And you will deny your own creation. Only if you are deeply spiritually aware will you understand that at a superconscious level, you created everything that's happening in your life. And you did so for a very particular reason. A reason of which you are not consciously aware. You see, at a conscious level, none of that will make any sense. Because you think, at a conscious level, that life is about the life of the body. Only at a superconscious level do you understand that life has nothing to do with the body. and the body can't, and who you are cannot die. Only the body can die, but the soul cannot die. So at the superconscious level, the death of the body is not a tragedy. Now, everyone else in your life is co-creating with you. So let me give you a simple example of how that works. Let's say that I want to create myself as Neale the patient. Let's say that I want to know myself as a person of great patience. If that's what I want to do, I will have to create circumstances that test my patience. I was going to make a joke and say, then I would succumb to Moldova. Or maybe go to Los Angeles, which is just about as bad. So, I'm going to try to create a situation to test my patience. But in order to do so, I need other players in my dance, other dancers on my stage. So I have to depend on someone else who understands at a super conscious level what it is I'm trying to do. And then they will come into my life. And at a conscious level, give me something to be impatient or patient about. At a conscious level, they won't even know what they're doing. Only at the level of the soul's superconscious will they understand what they're doing. Are you following this? Yes? Now I'm going to give you the primary example of what I've just said. Jesus wanted to experience himself as the resurrection